Another season of high school basketball starts for us tonight on Mediacom Connections Channel 14. And tonight we kick it off with two teams that look to be pretty good in the area this year. It's the Glendale Falcons hosting the Willard Tigers. Hi everybody, welcome into the Glendale High School gym. I'm Don West. We're joined tonight by Corey Riggs, and another season, number 27 for us on Mediacom and our cable predecessors, starting here tonight at Glendale High School. Corey, the Falcons come in with a 3-1 record off of a victory and championship in the Parkview tournament.
Yep, they did. They started off the year with a great win in the Parkview tournament, and this team, Don, is like a lot of teams at this point in the season, try to find their identity. They lost two great players in Spud Harbor and Scott Burrows, and now Coach Williamson thinks maybe they've got a more balanced team and not as many superstars, and we'll get our first look at them tonight.
And Glendale may have some size this year, actually. They're not going to be a five-guard team anymore. They've got a couple of 6'4s, and even bigger than that we'll get to here in just a little bit. But the Willard Tigers coming in with a record of 2-1. They finished second in their own Tri-State Classic over the weekend. They played 3 out-of-state teams. But Willard is a team that is completely rebuilt this year after losing all 5 of their starters to graduation.
All 5 of their starters, over 90% of their offense and over 90% of their rebounding. This is a team that lost great names like Probst and Henderson and Huskisson, so they're in that same stage too. Both teams really trying to find an identity, but they've got a good mix of size and speed. They're young, but they're going to be able to do a lot of things on the floor. I think this is going to be a fantastic matchup tonight between these two squads.
Willard visits Glendale in boys basketball action as we start another season of high school hoops here on Mediacom Connections Channel 14. It's all coming your way right after this. Willard and Glendale set to kick off our high school basketball season for another year here at the Glendale High School Gymnasium. The Tigers 2-1, Glendale is 3-1. Willard's coached by Travis Evans and Glendale by former Willard coach Sean Williamson. Let's have a look at the starting lineup for the Willard Tigers with a record of 2-1. Some familiar last names here. Mark Probst at a guard with Eric Hamilton and Ronnie Rust, who goes 6'6". Kevin Bracamati at a forward and Ben Young at the center for the Tigers. Coach Travis Evans, 26-9 in his second year, replacing Brad Barton, who had a great 2-year run before electing to go into private business. The Glendale Falcons at 3-1 for the season, and their starting lineup quite a bit taller than what you're used to from the Glendale teams. Casey Goss and Ross Jackson with Chris Dinas at guards, and twin brothers Mike and Dan Kickham at 6'4" and seniors at forward spots for Glendale. And Sean Williamson spent 9 years on the bench at Willard. He knows a lot of these younger guys who played in his camps coming through grade school. Bill Keeter, Darren Banner, and Tim Bishop are the officials. Glendale in white, Willard in black. And here we go with our season of high school basketball, the first of about a 21-game schedule for us on Mediacom Connections Channel 14. Well, Glendale, with their substantial size, apart from what we've seen from the last 2 or 3 years with Glendale, when they were very guard-oriented with Spud Harbor and some good shooters, George Rosenberry going back a year or 2.
And that was all they had, Don, is one of the guys we talked about in the open, Scott Burrows. Burrows was like the singular post player that Coach Williamson had, and it was him at a forward and 4 guards working the ball around the perimeter.
That's Dan Kickham with a miss, and Willard down floor for the first time, and Mark Probst starting at point guard for the Tigers, younger brother of Steven, one of the Willard stars of the past. Here's Ronnie Rust with a drive to the basket. And there is a foul.
And he is the big player so far in this early season, Don. Ronnie Rust, the 6'6" junior, so far averaging 14 points a game, and he's got 2 here and a chance to add to that at the free throw line.
Casey Goss gets the Glendale foul, and Rust, who had a 22-point game in Willard's only loss to Fort Scott, Kansas in their Tri-State tournament, converts the 3 to get Willard out to the early start.
Well, he's a talented young player, Don. Already Rust is nearly averaging a double-double a game with over 14 points and almost 9 rebounds. Those are some great early season numbers.
Dan Kickham again, this time on the baseline to get Glendale on the board.
Well, and Dan and Mike Kickham bring that size that we've talked about so much for Glendale already that's going to make their game completely different. This is a team that historically, Don, has run the floor up and down, kept a very frantic pace, but now they're going to be able to work the ball in the low post and see what happens there as Ronnie Ross comes up short. And Travis Evans, the coach of Willard, looking for a tip ball maybe, but doesn't look like he's going to get the call here from Bill Keeter.
The jacket comes off of Travis Evans here less than a minute and a half in.
I was going to say, it didn't take very long. It gets hot in this Glendale gym.
It really does. This is Ross Jackson over to Casey Goss. They bring back some experience for the Falcons this year. Mike Kickham can't get it. Russ taps it out, and Jackson has it for the Falcons. And Goss off from three, and another offensive board for Jackson. Ross Jackson is Glendale's leading scorer at this early stage of the season. Almost 12 points a game, and here he goes from three. And the answer to the air ball on the other end.
Brock Amani, Don, for Willard, pulled down the rebound. That's his second rebound here early in the first quarter.
Miss for Probst. And Darren Banner has a rebound foul against Willard.
I think that's going to be against Ronnie Rust, Don, and that's probably the one thing, if you're Travis Evans, you don't want to see is Rust, your pretty much leading scorer right now, getting into foul trouble early as he picks up his first.
Willard returns just 8.6 points per game from last year's team.
That is a lot of offense that you've got to make up in a short amount of time.
Last year's stars, Alex Henderson, who's now at Truman State, Travis Wilkins, who's on a missionary trip, and Devin Haar, John Stokes, and Kyle Weiland all graduated from Willard. But they went 24-8 a year ago and finished third in the state in Class 4. Here's the three for Casey Goss.
Three-pointer drops for that young man, his first 3 points of the night. That's half of his season average so far. Goss averaging just over 6.5.
And really tearing it up on defense. The running miss, and Dan Kickham, gets it swatted by Ben Young, but there's a foul. It'll be a two-shot foul. The foul's not even on Young, it's on Brock Amati.
Well, Ben Young is kind of the mainstay at the post for Willard, but we'll get two shots here for Kickham, his first two opportunities.
You talk about block shots for Ben Young. He's has a team high average of 4 blocks a game. He had 3 blocks in the first minute of the game against Shiloh Christian the other night.
That's an impressive start.
And 4 in the first quarter. 2 for Dan Kickham. So Glendale gave up the first 3 points. Now they've scored 7 in a row. Probst for Ronnie Rust. And Brock Amati over the top to Eric Hamilton. He's a good 3 shooter. This one rattles out. And Chris Dinas, the Glendale rebound. And the Falcons lose it.
Nice steal that time by Mark Probst, the sophomore guard. Picks it away, a chance for Willard to cut into this Falcon lead.
Brock Amati, and that is going to be offensive.
Well, they definitely took a minute to go ahead and make that call, but finally they do, charging on Brock Amati. And now, Don, he's got 2 early fouls real quickly.
He's a double-figure scorer, 10.7 points a game. And Travis Evans has to deal with early foul trouble for one of his top scorers. Meanwhile, Andrew Osborne checks in for Glendale. Another 6'4" kid off the bench, a junior.
Well, that's what we talked about in the open, Don. Glendale and Sean Williamson now have 5 players 6'4" or better to come in, and this was a team that I think Burrows was maybe 6'3", 6'4" maybe, and the only kid of that size for the last 2-3 seasons.
Hooked back in by Osborne coming in off the bench.
Well, that's instant offense right off the bench for the 6'4" junior. Osborne, 2 points. He's averaging almost 9 early on so far.
Eric Hamilton. Rust lost his footing. Now it's Probst for the Willard Tigers. Brock Amati lost control. He's got to be careful. And Rust hits the 3.
Rust, Don, you mentioned Hamilton from the outside, but Rust is also a very good 3-point shooter. as we get a short timeout called here.
A 30 called by Travis Evans, and Nathan Pratt is going to come in most likely now for Bracamani for the Willard Tigers. So Rust with all six of Willard's early points with 3:56 to go in the first quarter. Willard 24-8 a year ago. They lost to eventual state champion Kansas City Ruskin by 2 points in the semis last year in Columbia. And then 05, they made it all the way to the state championship game and lost to another Kansas City team, O'Hara, in overtime. They have been right there, of course, won 3 straight divisions of the blue and gold tournament now. The seeding for that comes up Friday.
And they've kind of had Glendale's number, Don. We talked to Sean Williamson before tonight's game. Willard beat him in the Tournament of Champions a year ago, beat him in the blue and gold a year ago.
Yep.
So Glendale probably looking for a little bit of payback here as we get another change up.
Taylor Triplett here has had the flu and is good to go now tonight. He's an 11-point-a-game scorer. And 6'1" and a junior. Out it comes to Mike Kickham. That's a 3.
Nice outside shooting for one of your post players. The 6'4" senior steps out and hits one from long distance.
It was Nathan Pratt replacing Bracamani at the timeout. No, Bracamani's still out there. So he's got 2 fouls. Rust with a miss. And Eric Hamilton gets the offensive rebound. Now foul whistled out front. That'll go to Taylor Triplett. Alex Sanders checks in for the Falcons, one of their football stars from this fall. And here's Ethan Henderson, another of the Willard little brothers, younger brother of Alex, who is now at Truman State. One of their stars from just last year. Here is Bracamani.
Nice move that time. Good set play on the inbounds pass. Allowed him just to drop his head. Only had to put the ball on the floor once and get his first 2 points of the night.
Here's an open Triplett with a miss. And Nathan Pratt runs down the rebound for the Tigers.
Matter of fact, Don, Bracamani's 2 points is the first time anybody other than Rust has scored for the Tigers so far here in the first quarter.
Bracamani and Rust again. And Rust floats it home.
Nice 2-man game that time between Bracamani and Rust. Rust now with 8 points. He's already halfway to his per game average in the first quarter.
Willard with wins over Greenwood, Arkansas, and another Arkansas team, Shiloh Christian from Springdale, in their Tri-State Classic last weekend. They lost to Fort Scott, Kansas. Here's Henderson getting in the way, and it's going to be off of Pratt.
So that was kind of a mess there at the end. Wasn't sure maybe who got the last touch there, but Glendale will retain possession. We'll get a couple more changes in the lineup now. Brett Woody checking in for Willard. He'll replace Kevin Bracamani as he gets his first break.
Woody, a good defender, not that big of a scorer. Here's a block by Henderson on the 3 release by Goss. Now a scramble and a tie-up. Whoop, Mr. Keeter goes down.
Trey Stokes has just checked in for the Falcons, and he was in on part of the tie-up. Possession arrow give the ball back to the Willard Tigers. There you get a good look at Brett Woody, the 6'3" junior who just checked in for Coach Evans.
2 minutes to go in the first. Pratt gets it down. He is the son of Willard's principal, Stuart Pratt, who used to be the coach at Mount Vernon. Now Ethan Henderson with a layup.
Boy, great defensive play to get the steal. Goes the length of the floor. The first 2 points of the night for the 6-foot sophomore. And Willard has turned this game on its ear, Don. They've got the lead now, 14-12.
They led 3-0 and 3-2 before Glendale went on that 7-0 run to seize command until now. And And that's another three for Casey Goss, his second, and the Falcons' third of the quarter.
This Glendale team, Don, is going to be more balanced now. They've got more scores, and you see it already. 4 different Falcons are in the scoring column in the first quarter.
Woody rejected by Sanders.
Alex Sanders was a wide receiver for the football team, wasn't he?
Not a D-back.
Say, not a DB. That was a pretty good play there.
Now a big line change for the Falcons as the Kickums both return along with Ross Jackson.
A wholesale line change, if you will, for the final 42.3 here in the first quarter.
The Falcons ran the table in the Parkview tournament over the weekend. They beat a school called Don Bosco from Kansas City that I honestly had not heard of until this tournament.
Me neither.
They beat the host Vikings, and they beat Kansas City Westport in the round robin tournament. They opened their year with a loss to Columbia Hickman, which was a competitive game that we showed you here last year on TV. That was a 6-point Glendale loss, 66-60 in Columbia. Now 23 seconds to go in the quarter. And Willard from the side. Pratt, and a little hand contact from Dan Kickham. Will be Glendale's third team foul, and the first on Dan.
I found it kind of entertaining, Don. The officials were talking to Coach Evans over here on the near sideline, telling him to get back off the floor a little bit. You turn around and look at the floor here at Glendale, the seats are right up against the out of bounds line. He doesn't have anywhere else to go.
No room to walk. Willard will shoot for the lead in the final seconds if they can hang on to the ball. From the corner, Hamilton, too much. Pratt couldn't get it. And Glendale will head for the huddle up with a 1-point lead at the quarter break. Falcons lead Willard 15-14 at the end of the first. St. John's salutes the fans at Glendale. St. John's Sports Medicine sponsors high school basketball on Mediacom, the region's most experienced sports medicine professionals. Big group from Willard here tonight. They call themselves the Black Hole.
Say apparently a lot of Raider fans in Willard I didn't know about. The Glendale student side and parent side both packed in tonight. High school basketball is back on Mediacom and back in the Ozarks. And it is always fun to be out here.
We'll have a game Friday night as well this week, live from Central.
The Pit.
At the Pit. And the Ozark Tigers will be there. They're another completely rebuilt team.
Did anybody return a senior this year, or did I not get a memo? Well, I get Kickapoo, I guess. Kickapoo's got Kyle Vaughn and Dusty Allen, and that's the story there.
Mike Kickham draws the foul for the Falcons.
Is that Rust again, Don? No.
That's Brockamani.
It's Brockamani, but that's 3 now on Kevin Brockamani.
Oh, that's bad news.
Yeah, I would assume that would be the end of what we'll see of Brockamani here in the second quarter. And quickly now, Coach Evans sends in Nathan Pratt.
And he really only plays 8 to begin with. So he's going to be a man short here for the rest of the quarter. 1 out of 2. For Mike Kickham. Yeah, Kickapoo won the Tip-Off Classic at their gym over the weekend against some really good competition. Most of it from out of the area. Hamilton will chase it down for the Tigers. Pratt gets it down for his second basket.
Nice little spin move on the baseline that time for the big man, 6'4" senior Nathan Pratt. I tell you what, Don, we used to talk about how frantic Glendale's offense was. I think what's got me most impressed so far here in the first half is how frantic that Glendale defense is now.
Yeah.
As you see Goss bury his third triple. That's 9 points now, all from behind the arc for Casey Goss. But their defense is all over the floor and in the shorts of these Willard Tigers.
Pratt will shoot. It looked like the ball might have been hit along with the arm there by Mike Kickham, but they'll give Pratt the 2 shots. First foul on Mike. Here's Andrew Osborne back in. A couple other seniors from Glendale last year. Everyone remembers Spud Harbor and Scott Burrows the most, but Jeff Mason and Stephen Alphin also seniors for the Falcons a year ago. They went 17-10 last year.
Alphin had more than one good game when our cameras were here, too. I can remember him lighting it up a couple different times.
Falcons made it to the district finals in Waynesville before that really good Tiger team up there knocked them out 88-63 in the district championship. Miss for Chris Dinas, followed back in by Osborne.
Offensive rebound and put back now, 4 points on the night for Osborne off the bench.
Rust whips it down to Pratt. That's worked pretty well for Willard. Pratt back to the free throw line.
Well, he seems to be getting there quite often now early on, as you see another foul picked up by the Falcons.
Ross Jackson this time. Willard got a bunch of wide open looks down underneath the basket in their game against Shiloh Christian. Just had them befuddled on defense.
Pratt now making his money at the free throw line. He's got 6 points, make it 7.
Two-point Falcon lead. Early second quarter at Glendale. Jackson off from 3. Another chance for the Falcons, and Dinas finds Jackson with another miss. And Goss picks it clean and feeds it to Dinas.
That's Dinas' first 2 points of the night. Now he's the 5th Falcon in the scoring column.
That's offensive on Pratt.
Pratt had been really doing some good work down in the paint for Travis Evans and the Willard Tigers, but he finally got called for that one, dropped the shoulder and just kind of ran over the Falcon defender. You see here on the Nixon Lindstrom Insurance instant replay, you're going to get called when you drop the shoulder every time.
What happened to Bracamati a while ago? Jackson too much off the glass. Another chance for Mike Kickham. And Pratt secures the rebound.
This game has been moving along at a fairly quick pace. I'm waiting for one of these teams, and I think it may be Willard that'll try to slow it down here a little bit. But then Rust fires one up quickly.
Hold on, 1st and 10. And the tie up and possession to Willard. Sanders and Starks check back in for the Falcons, and here comes Brett Woody for Willard. St. John's Sports Medicine brings you high school basketball on Mediacom Connections Channel 14. St. John's offering a full range of training and rehabilitation programs for active adults and youth. Along with Corey Riggs, Don West with you at Glendale. Here is Eric Hamilton with his first 2.
That was a nice little kiss off the glass by Hamilton. He's a very good 3-point shooter, but a nice sort of fadeaway jump shot that time for his first 2 of the night.
He averages 8 a game here in the early season for Willard. Falcons will keep it. Dan Kickham returns.
One kick him out, the other kick him in.
I know I already used this last year. Kick them when they're up, kick them when they're down. Inside to Dan Kickham. And he'll shoot 2.
Another Willard foul that time, Don.
Ben Young with his first. He's one of only 2 seniors for Willard. The other one's Nathan Pratt.
Kickham buries his first free throw. 5 points now on the night for the 6'4" senior.
And Glendale has just the Kickhams and Ross Jackson, who are seniors.
So I said early on, Don, both of these teams are young. They're kind of rebuilt, looking to replace some star power from a year ago. And
that went out of bounds. Spud Harbor finished as the city's second all-time leading scorer behind Matt Miller, and he broke the Glendale all-time scoring record with over 1,500 points.
And you don't just replace that with one player. It can't be done. And that's why Sean Williams is talking so much about a more balanced team effort this year. And you're seeing that tonight. Goss has 9, Dan Kickham has 5, Mike Kickham has 4, Osborne has 4, Dynas has 2, getting a little bit of scoring from everywhere. You can have a different standout every night with this offense.
Whoa, not quite. Dynas will have to earn them. Brett Woody gets his first foul. Chris Dynas shooting. He's had a couple of double-figure games. Averages 9.5. Really good balance for Glendale so far this year.
Yeah, they've got about 5 guys that any and all of the 5 of them can have double digits in scoring on every night.
They've had as many as 5 double-figure scores in a couple of their games already. In the middle of the second quarter, Glendale leads it by 4, and Taylor Triplett with a reach to commit his second foul. Mark Probst and Nathan Pratt return for Willard.
One of the things that always amazes me about high school basketball, Don, look at the Glendale fans and the Willard fans on the far sides. Don't sit down the entire game.
And the Glendale kids always bunch themselves in that center section of the bleachers over there. Hamilton, and that'll be a block.
They're going to call that one on Dynas. That'll be his first personal. He just didn't get his feet set in time as Willard was running a little backdoor cut that time, trying to create some offense. See here, quick dive in on the pass, but Dynas' feet weren't set. And we'll get a couple of free throws here for Willard.
And Hamilton misses the front end. Both teams are in the bonus now. There's a rejection for Alex Sanders and a rainbow of a 3. Nathan Pratt can't get it there. Woody has it stripped away. Now Starks will slow it up a little.
After that series, Don, nothing is working harder in this gym right now than Coach Evans' gum.
Look out. They went alley-oop to Sanders. Just a little off. Yeah.
That is a play that will come together later in this season. You don't hit that alley-oop in your 3rd or 4th game, but come blue and gold time, that play will be ready.
More subs. Mike Kickham, Goss, Jackson all back in for the Falcons. Glendale last in the state playoffs 2 years ago in the sectional round. Travis Evans, one highly successful year, and now in his 2nd season and timeout since Rust couldn't get the ball in bounds with 2:45 to go in the half, and Glendale leading at 25-21. Travis Evans is from Des Moines, Iowa. Played basketball at Iowa Wesleyan and spent a couple of years in northern Missouri as a head coach. St. John's Sports Medicine brings you high school basketball. St. John's Health Tracks offering an injury rehabilitation program designed to get you back in the game as safely and quickly as possible.
You know, Don, as we take a look at the fan cam here, you were talking about Coach Evans. He is more familiar with the MediaCom Connections channel than almost anybody, because he was on up there quite a bit in Iowa with our friends up at the Connections channel up there.
He's a head coach at Marion County High School in northern Missouri, Philadelphia, Missouri. Here's a Willard turn. Good pass ahead to Jackson, and then Woody prevents the basket. It'll be a two-shot foul for Ross Jackson.
Yeah, that was a good play that time by Brett Woody, the 6'3" junior, just not going to allow the easy layup that time. I believe that'll be the second foul on Woody.
Travis Evans' other stop in Missouri was at Putnam County, also in the northern part of the state. And he spent a couple of years at Indianola, Iowa, before heading down here to Willard.
That's the first point of the night gone for Russ Jackson. He's been averaging almost 12 points a game, and he spins the second one out. The rebound pulled down by Russ.
He's their leading scorer right now at 11.8. And Taylor Triplett, another 11-point scorer, is shut out so far. But it's been Casey Goss picking up the slack with threes so far, 3 of them.
Now, you didn't expect a lot out of Triplett, knowing that he's coming off and still fighting a bit of a flu bug, and that drains your energy. And Coach Williamson wasn't going to use him extensively tonight, so you knew you were going to have to find it somewhere else. Goss doing a good job, the 5'10" junior. But maybe need to find one other spot where some offense will come from to add to this 5-point Falcon lead. There's a quick
look at Rust. Wow.
That is highlight reel material right there. The behind the back move from the big man, 6'6" Rust. He's the first player to get into double figures too, Don. He's got 10.
Now Trey Starks with a big jump stop. Followed back up and in by Alex Sanders.
First 2 of the night for Sanders now. Now 7 of the Falcons are in the scoring book. Like I said, a little bit from everywhere for them.
That's what it's going to be like for them this year.
They're going to play 8 or 9, and almost all of them are going to contribute on the floor.
That one almost brought rain to the Glendale gym, and it's tied up.
Wow.
Possession to Glendale.
I thought Stokes had got that clean, but turned around and got tied up that time. Mark Probst in on that.
A minute to go in the half. Jackson in a double team. Passes out of it around. Here's Goss again. Gets knocked to the deck and no call. Misses it. And Willard in some difficulty, and they'll get a foul on either Kickham or Jackson.
Russ taken down kind of hard that time. Willard bench kind of up in arms over it, but he'll now walk the length of the floor.
Second foul on Mike Kickham. And Ronnie Rust with a 1-and-1. And Sean's asking about what about his shooter Casey Goss that got knocked to the deck a while ago.
I would say right now they're letting them play. Isn't that what they call it?
That is. Here is Ronnie Rust, the tallest Tiger at 6'6".
Rust leading all scorers now with 11. Chance to make it a dozen here from the stripe, and he does.
A 3-point Falcon lead heading toward halftime.
I don't think anybody would expect any less from this matchup at this point in time of the season. A good competitive match, hard play on both sides of the ball.
Pass off the mark, and now Willard would have at least the chance to tie the game going in if they can hit a 3.
That one was just a foot too far to the inside for Ross Jackson, the 6'1" junior, to be able to make a play on it.
Ethan Henderson in for Woody, so both point guards out there now, Henderson and Probst for Willard, and they're almost interchangeable. You don't lose really anything with Probst starting and Henderson relieving him, but now they're both out on the floor. Down 20 seconds. Probst across with a nice wraparound pass to Pratt.
Wow, that was just a great sort of behind the back pass that time, because he was going to get tied up, but he was able to find Pratt at the last minute. Pratt now has 9 points.
5 seconds. Goss whips it in. It's knocked away by Pratt, and time runs out in the first half. And a 1-point difference for these two teams heading in. At halftime at Glendale, the Falcons lead Willard 28-27. Well, we expected this out of a Glendale-Willard matchup tonight in Falcon country. The Falcons lead it by a score of 28-27 at halftime. Good game all the way, Corey. Never separated by more than about 4 or 5 points.
No, these two teams are really evenly matched, and that's coming across on the scoreboard. And we talked early on that these teams are trying to find their identity. I think they're finding it tonight. They're getting scoring from all over the place. They're not too dominant in one area or not, dominant enough in another. It's just well-balanced scoring and defense on both sides.
Let's have a look at the first half highlights. See how this one shook out in the first half. 15-14 was your first quarter score. Dan Kickham with an early basket for Glendale. Here's Ronnie Rust for Willard on the other end, hitting his only 3, but he finished with a game high of 12. Mike Kickham for the Falcons, and Casey Goss hit 3 threes for 9 points in the first half for the Falcons. Here's another one. And that's a nice move by Ronnie Rust.
That is a great move for the 6'6" big man. And we'll tell you that these games, you can catch this game again if you're watching us Wednesday night at 7. We'll be back again on Thursday night at 8 p.m. or Friday afternoon at 1 o'clock. And don't forget, Friday night we'll be live from the pit at 7:30 as the Ozark Tigers come to visit the Central Bulldogs.
Another season of high school basketball underway on Mediacom. Sponsored by St. John Sports Medicine, Health Tracks, certified athletic trainers using the latest performance enhancement programs to meet your training needs in a state-of-the-art training facility. At the half, Glendale leads Willard by a point, 28-27. Second half action coming up in just a moment. At the half at Glendale, the Falcons leading Willard 28-27. Some events going on tonight. Sounds like the Missouri State Lady Bears might get their first win. They're playing at home against Tulsa tonight. Check out the Morning Drive Sports Report on AM 1340 KADI with your host Steve Largent, 6:30 to 9 a.m. weekdays. Lots of local sports in the morning on 1340 KADI with the Morning Drive Sports Report. Steve Largent has been in on a fundraising effort that's going to be going on this weekend at Logan Rogersville High School, a benefit basketball game for former Assistant Fire Chief Randy Mantle, who passed away from leukemia recently at the age of 43. More about that as we tell you about MediacomConnectionsChannel.com. Go to our website, check out our schedule of high school games and everything else that's going on Channel 14. There will be a benefit basketball game in Rogersville at the high school on Saturday. It's a 6 o'clock start, and it'll be a donations admission type of deal where whatever you can offer to help out the family of a former Assistant Fire Chief Randy Mantle would be very much appreciated. Glendale is having an alumni night around their basketball game on the 20th of this month with all former players, managers, and coaches welcome to attend and be recognized. The alumni will be introduced at halftime of their varsity game against Rogersville, and there will be food and drink offered after the varsity game in the practice gym. So that's coming up on the 20th here at Glendale.
Then aren't the Lady Bears having a event Friday night as well against SLU? They're having the Final Four teams back.
They are. The 1992 and 2001 Final Four teams will be, for the most part, in attendance, and they've had great response from that. After Willard got the ball first, the Falcons creating the turnover, the steal for Dan Kickham, and Glendale with a 1-point lead in possession now underway here in the third quarter. Ross Jackson puts down a 2. Falcons by 3, and Willard will turn it over again. Glendale ball.
You know, Don, if you look up high in the stands here, back behind the Willard student section, there are all sorts of people. This is like the only game in town going on tonight. There are coaches from Hillcrest, Nixa, Morrisville, all sitting up in that Willard student section. I even see a video camera up there I think the Nixa guys brought. Apparently you don't get in trouble like that you do in the NFL. So.
Yeah. Jay Osborne is here. John Schaefer, the new Hillcrest coach, up there tonight. Now here's a touchdown pass to Probst, and he can't finish off. And then apparently the ball out of bounds. It'll be Willard possession. Early third quarter. Glendale has been in the news this week concerning their boys basketball booster club's involvement with last summer's Price Cutter Charity Championship. And there have been some feathers ruffled over a situation, and now Ben Young gets fouled and he'll shoot 2.
I'd say that was probably putting it mildly. There's been quite a few feathers ruffled over the whole ordeal.
Foul goes to Casey Goss. It's his second, and Ben Young shooting. And not that we're going to take either side of this argument, but there are 2 clear sides to what's going on between, and it's not 2 sides that are clear cut, actually. It's pretty much the Glendale side and then the anti-Glendale side, where the Falcon basketball and golf booster clubs were a part of the Price Cutter Charity Championship and received a sizable check, but they did a lot of work at the tournament to earn a check as a result of the tournament.
Well, just in an attempt to maybe put enough information out there for everybody to make their own opinion about it, the Glendale Booster Club was approached by the Price Cutter Charity Championship because of a long-standing relationship between Sean Williamson and Gerald Andrews. The Glendale Booster Club fronted $4,000 to become a sponsor of the event, then had to put 20 people out to man the driving range, Don, from 6 a.m. to dusk for a week for that tournament. Then in return, they got their $4,000 back, plus about $430. Then as a charity that was involved, they were able to sell the raffle tickets. And because they sold more raffle tickets than over 90% of the other charities, they received $7,000, which got them to the number of around $11,000 was the check that they got on the day of giving for the tournament.
Probst puts it down, and that's when it all came up, was at the check presentation last week. And there have been statements that have been written in the paper and come out on the radio and everywhere else about, well, the Glendale Booster Club got more money than a lot of the charities. Well, they did a lot more work than a lot of the charities. And it's not just free money for the charities. They have to put up money and then earn it back, basically. Here's Probst hitting the 2, and Willard takes a 1-point lead.
And those are 4 points now quickly here in the second half, Don, from Probst, who was scoreless in the first half. But yeah, going back to the story, I think the biggest thing is we get an outside shot here, and now all of a sudden Ross Jackson's heating up. He's just doubled his point output for the night. That triple gives him 6 points. I think what most people are upset about is a lot of people don't see a booster club as a charity. But
that's called a tie-up.
They're set up the same way. They're a not-for-profit organization. They were given this opportunity, and a lot of other people are seeing that they think everybody should have been provided that opportunity instead of just Glendale. And nobody was shut out from having that opportunity, but Glendale was the school that was called. So I think that's where you're seeing a lot of the feathers get ruffled, to borrow your phrase from earlier.
But Glendale did nothing wrong in going out and working for this money that they earned from their mostly raffle ticket sales. Here's an up and under move for Andrew Osborne. The fine line becomes, what's the definition of a charity?
Yeah.
I've heard it said tonight that on the Price Cutter Charity Championship website, it says that the money raised goes to underprivileged children. Now underneath, it's Pratt, and there is a foul. And no one will ever confuse the Glendale Booster Club of being an underprivileged charity. And Sean Williamson says we are absolutely not that, of course. But the opportunity came to raise some money, and who wouldn't do that?
That's right. Ross Jackson was called with the foul. That's his second. Well, I think I heard somebody call into a radio show tonight before we came on the air and said, you know, by the way, I don't have anything to do that week. I'd be willing to come out and work for a check as well. As you get a quick breakaway bucket for Casey Goss. He now has 11. He's the first Falcon to hit double digits in scoring tonight, does the junior. But, pardon me, it's a story that I don't think is going to go away for a while, and we definitely haven't seen the end of it. My question now becomes, as Glendale pulls down the rebound and there's going to be a quick foul on Pratt, that's going to be Pratt's second personal, is will high school booster clubs be allowed to do this next year, or is this all over and done now and you're going to see a redefinition of who's allowed to be a charity that's involved with the tournament? But we shall see.
Yeah, that's the only way to put it. There's no telling how this is going to affect the tournament next year, what's going to happen. But let's let that be that and talk about basketball. Glendale has scored 7 straight since they fell behind by a.
Ronnie Rust pulls down another rebound for the Tigers. That's 12 points, 4 boards so far on the night for Rust.
Now that's called a held ball. And the arrow to Willard.
Starks tying up with Hamilton that time, and Sean Williamson looking for a little explanation from the men in stripes.
Chris Dinas returning. And Jackson goes out.
And give Jackson a breather. He's been all over the floor so far in the first part of the second half.
Willard in need of a basket here, down by 6 after they briefly led here in the third period.
You see Brock Amani out on the floor for Willard, Don. Remember, he's starting the second half with the 3 fouls he picked up early in the second quarter.
He's steered clear of anything so far, but there have been only 3 fouls total whistled here in the first 5 minutes of the third period. Starks can't hit the runner, and there is Pratt with another rebound.
That's a half a dozen boards to go with the 9 points for Pratt.
Bracamati lost it. Willard will keep possession. I believe Bracamati had 15 rebounds in one of their tournament games at their place over the weekend.
Oh, he had to, Don. You know, these early season numbers are always kind of skewed, but when I was adding it all up, Bracamati was averaging 10 points, 12 rebounds, and over 2 assists a game.
Little hook for Ronnie Rust. He led the game with 12 points in the first half, now 14, and Willard within 4.
You know it's in the early season, or you're really, really good if you're averaging a double-double. And that's what Bracamati's done 3 games into the season for the Tigers.
Well, it's going to be, first off, it's going to be Willard's ball with the Kickums both returning. It'll be a different Willard team this year, and they're going to get a lot of stuff from Bracamati and guys like him and Rust. St. John Sports Medicine brings you high school basketball on Mediacom. Contact St. John's at 820-7990 to discuss medical coverage for your event, team, or school. Well, Willard got timeout called there by Bracamati.
Yeah, that was a heck of a move by Bracamati. He ran the length of the floor to run down the long pass, and then as he was diving out of bounds, got the timeout call.
And that's I don't believe, not a rule in high school now like it is in college where you can't call the desperation timeout.
And that is a full timeout.
St. John salutes the fans. St. John Sports Medicine proud to support a variety of sports-related activities and projects in Springfield and the surrounding area. We're at the Glendale High School gym. We'll be in the pit Friday night for the Central Bulldogs hosting the Ozark Tigers. That looks like it could be a competitive game. Central has gotten a win this year over Jeff City Helias in the Lebanon tournament. And they are improved under Coach Eddie Thomas. We will be out there on Friday, and we'll see that completely revamped Ozark team. And that'll be us Friday night at 7:30 here on Mediacom Connections Channel 14. And that will be live from the pit.
Hopefully they won't have a freshman game and a JV game before the varsity game on Friday night. Otherwise, we'll be filling for a while at 7:30.
We run into those once in a while now.
Every now and again.
And tonight was one of them. Late third quarter. That is over the top, and nobody touched it.
Now, you hate to give away a possession like that here, and Coach Evans not too pleased. Down 4 points, telling his players, you got to think here. You got to use your head. That was a chance to make this a one-possession game, and now you give the ball right back to the Falcons and a chance to pad their 4-point lead here in the final 2 minutes of the third.
That's Mike Kickham with a miss, and he gets it back in.
Wow, went up with the left hand and then got the tip. That's a half dozen now for Mike Kickham.
And a travel on Eric Hamilton.
Good defense that time by the junior Dynas, covering him up as he came down the floor, forced the turnover now. Starks will bring it up the floor for the Falcons.
Willard going zone here, and there's a takeaway for Rust in the lane. Rust for three. He has 17 points.
A huge night for Ronnie Rust. He's already eclipsed that 14, 15 point a game average, and we've got plenty of basketball left to play here at Glendale.
A 3-point difference now. Pratt coming in for foul number 3.
He and Bracamani now the only two Tigers with 3 fouls. Really the only Tigers that in foul trouble at all.
Young returning. Ross Jackson back in. So where will Willard end up on Friday after the blue and gold seedings? They are 3-time champions of their division the last 3 years. It looks like Kickapoo's a solid number 1 seed. Glendale's not in this year.
Well, I think you may have to talk about Hillcrest the way Schaefer has those young men playing. They may have a legitimate shot at the 1 seed on the other side of the bracket as we get a foul down low.
Dynas will be shooting this time. Foul goes to Eric Hamilton, just his first. My thinking on Saturday was that, whoever came out of the Republic tournament in that championship game between Republic and Hillcrest might be in line for the other number 1 seed. You'll have to consider Branson, and you'll have to consider Lebanon. They're both pretty good.
Hey, man, I just show up on Friday morning for the pancakes. I'm not going to lie to anybody. I do love me some flapjacks. Dynas gets both of his free throws to go down.
But those 5 or 6 teams would look to at least be seated ahead of Willard in the blue and gold. So it's not going to be easy for them to become the first team ever to win 4 consecutive tournaments. In the blue and gold, that is. Now the final 30 seconds of quarter number 3. The save to Young, and Tigers can keep possession here. They'll have a chance to get within 3 or 2, and a foul on Goss. His third, and only the third Glendale team foul.
He's the only Falcon with 3, as opposed to Willard, who's got 2 of their players in foul trouble now with Brock Amani and Pratt.
Rust, not there from 3 this time. 2 seconds and a half-court bomb off the mark from Mike Kickham. So we go to the fourth with Glendale holding a 5-point edge over Willard. Falcons lead at 43-38. Glendale leads at 43-38 as we go to the fourth quarter. Willard fans in full force tonight here at Glendale. St. John salutes the fans. St. John Sports Medicine, where you'll find the region's most experienced sports medicine physicians, the same physicians who provide sports medicine services to the Springfield Cardinals and the Missouri State University Bears.
I think those Willard fans are a little jacked up for the final 8 minutes of this one. No pressure here in a game like this.
5 points, the lead for Glendale as we start the fourth. So the Lady Bears were ahead of Tulsa late in that game, right?
Yes, they were. We'll see if we can find a final score on that.
Maybe in line for Nyla Millison's first win as the head Lady Bear. Kickham brings it up for the Falcons. Around for Trey Starks and Goss. Inside. Mike Kickham back to the line.
Looked like Hamilton reached in that time for Willard. That'll only be his second personal, but it'll put Mike Kickham back on the line, and both of the Kickhams have shot well from the free throw line tonight. The 6'4" senior buries that 7 points now on the night for him. Close to his 8-point per game average. Having those 2 post players working out pretty well for Glendale so far, Don. Quick takeaway now by the Falcons as Ross Jackson jumps in front of the errant Willard pass.
So a 7-point lead in the ball now for the Falcons.
This has got to be close to their biggest lead of the game, I would think.
Starks with the runner, and that will be for sure. First 2 for Starks, and Glendale leading it by 9.
8 players in the scoring book. Sean Williamson has played 9 with triplets, so if he gets in the scoring column, everybody who plays has scored.
Dinas couldn't finish. Now double team, and Hamilton passes out of it. Inside for Pratt, and a reach on Goss will be his 4th.
He becomes the first player to get 4 fouls in the contest tonight, so may see a quick change here from Sean Williamson.
Only the 4th team foul. Hamilton with a runner and drawing the blocking foul. And that's Goss again.
That should be it.
That is.
Goss is going to foul out with 11 points. A nice first half for him. He was deadly from behind the arc, had 3 triples to start the first half, but gets punched out here with 6:27 to play in the 4th. That'll bring Triplet back into the game. We talked about him earlier. He's been fighting the flu, but we may have to see quite a bit of him down the stretch here.
Hamilton shooting. Just a quiet 3 points for him so far tonight. Willard will host Lebanon Friday night. They'll have games prior to the blue and gold. At Camdenton against Morrisville, at home against Mount Vernon, and at Webb City. we will have the Mount Vernon game as part of our TV coverage. And this year, all Willard boys varsity games are being webcast, except tonight.
Wonder why that is.
But the plans are for all of their other ones to be webcast on their homepage, willard.k12.mo.us. Here's Dinas up and in. There's the biggest Glendale lead at 10.
Believe, Don, we do have a final on the Lady Bears game. They hold on and get their first victory tonight, 72-62.
Okay. The Lady Bears in the win column, and a turnover on Rust.
Probably a big sigh of relief from a lot of people wearing maroon tonight to finally get that first game in the win column. Things tend to become a lot easier after you get that goose egg out of the win side of the ledger.
Kickham drills the three.
Big man hits from outside, 8 points now. Oh.
Rust answers with a three, and he has 20. And timeout for Travis Evans, a full timeout after the made basket. With 5:05 to play in the game. Glendale leading at 52-42. St. John's Sports Medicine brings you high school basketball on Mediacom Connections, Channel 14, with certified athletic trainers using the latest rehabilitation technologies and techniques. So Glendale's lead is 10 at 52-42, and Travis Evans' team is up against the wall now.
Well, they've got some players that can shoot from the outside, definitely. You've seen Ronnie Russ do it. We know that Eric Hamilton is fairly proficient from beyond the arc, so it may be starting to get to that point of the game when you get under 5 minutes where you might see more shots from the outside than you do from the inside, but still not out of reach yet as you see one of the last plays here, the Nixon Lindstrom Insurance instant replay. That's Ronnie Rust from the outside. He drills home that three to get him to 20 points on the night, and that leads all scorers. Leading scorer for the Falcons, I think you've got Goss, who fouled out with 11, and Mike Kickham, after he hit the three, had 11.
Boy, two close range misses for Glendale, and a rebound foul on Osborne.
That's his first personal.
The 6th Falcon team foul. By the way, we'll have the Lady Bears at Oral Roberts a week from Saturday.
Now we'll have the unique instance of having a live day-night doubleheader that day, thanks to our friends at the Mountain Network, who are going to give us their feed of the Missouri State men's game at Utah, and we'll have that live at 1 o'clock. And then our crew will head out to Tulsa, and we'll bring the women's game back home here to Springfield, and the rest of the Missouri Cable Sports Network live at 7.
A big night a week from Saturday, the 15th. Big day and night. 4:40 to go here, and Willard in need of some points. Pratt can't get it.
That's when you just can't buy one there, Don. That did everything but go in.
And then a gift turnover as Osborne takes an extra step.
Still 10 points, and Don, Glendale starting to use a little full court press that we haven't seen a lot of tonight.
Just to kill some more time here. Dinas almost had it. Bracamani in a triple team, and Starks has stepped out of bounds there.
The Glendale defense, Don, is collapsing down. Anytime the Tigers are able to get the ball in the paint, you should be able to see Willard and these young players be able to start kicking the ball back outside, try to look for an open three.
That's what they're going to need anyway. A 2 try for Hamilton, and Somebody might have caught a piece of that one. They're going to say Glendale ball. So Travis Evans saying that's got to be either a foul or a deflection.
It was neither, apparently.
Not in the eyes of the men in stripes, anyway.
I may be the only one who thinks so, but a couple things you could use in high school basketball every now and again is Brock Amani breaks away with that layup. He's got 4 points now. A little instant replay and a shot clock would not kill high school basketball.
I thought we'd have a shot clock by now, but
really?
Well, that was several years ago that I thought it was coming. Going to get timeout called by Glendale, a full with 3:31 to go. Glendale leading at 52-42. We'll take timeout. Along with Corey Riggs, our director Brad Woodall, I'm Don West with you from Glendale, where the Falcons lead the Willard Tigers 52-44. Sean Williamson was on the Willard bench for 9 years, at Conway for 5 years before that, a Nixa High School graduate. His Nixa team finished as the Class 2A state runner-up in 1986.
Back when they still used A's.
And Nixa being Class 2. They've grown a little since then.
You don't say, and one.
Dynas now with 11 points, the third Falcon to the 11-point barrier. And he'll shoot for a dozen. Foul on Brock Amani is his fourth.
If he's able to convert the traditional three-point play, he'll be the leading Falcon scorer so far tonight with a dozen.
Give it to him. Glendale lead is 11. .310 to play. Rust, foul line. Starks the rebound for the Falcons. Hickam with a spin and offensive.
He was looking ever so slightly out of control as he came running down there. Oh. Seemed to be a little bit of confusion on that call, as you see on the Nixon Lidstrom Insurance instant replay.
They're going to ask about the number of the foul, because it was Mike Kickham with the ball, but I think Darren Banner flashed 35 as the foul number.
As if it was on Andrew Osborne.
And he was in the neighborhood in the lane there.
But he wasn't the one who had control of the ball. You can't call 3-5 here, as we're getting a little explanation to Coach Evans.
Well, if it's 35, it's not a player control foul, because it was Kickham that had the ball.
Coach Williamson going, I know I'm getting a foul, just pick one and let's move on.
And it is Kickham, and it is player control, so it was number 5, not 35.
Yeah, that's the correct call. But see how much instant replay would have helped out? We could have been done with that a lot sooner.
Yeah, I don't think you'll ever see the shot clock in high school now. Or the replay for that matter, but not the shot clock either.
The replay I say facetiously. The shot clock I'm serious about. Brock Amani gets another 2. He's got 6 now.
It's another position you'd have to pay every night, and it's not an easy device to run.
Jimmy's got to have a few free nights, right?
Yeah, we'll get Jimmy to do it all. Probst fouled now. This game is rough here in the fourth quarter at Glendale.
Yeah, I think we've taken it a little beyond the letting them play theory now.
Trey Starks with his first. Probst at the line for Willard. Glendale leading by 9 and 2:22 to play. Mark Probst.
Get a good look at the 5'11 sophomore.
Another of the younger brothers. Stephen Probst from 2 years ago, one of the Willard stars. I guess he would have got a year or two in under Sean Williamson too, Stephen. Sean's last year was 2004, and his last game as the Willard coach was a double overtime loss in the state quarterfinal to Ozark. Whipped down to Dinas, and he's going to bring it back out.
That was a self-defense catch. I don't think he really meant to catch that pass. He was just praying that he did. Glendale doing a good job with ball control right now, eating down that clock under 2 minutes.
They foul Dinas. It's on Rust. And that is just the sixth team foul.
Only the second personal on Russ. The big man's played clean tonight.
So the next one will put Glendale in the bonus, and that's where Willard has to send them now, is to the free throw line. Over the top foul on Woody will be his third.
Now
Mike Kickham will shoot him.
It is that point of the game, and I don't know that Kickham brothers, who you really want to foul here, they've both shot very well from the charity stripe tonight. Mike, the 6'4 senior, he's got 11 points so far.
Dinas has 12, and Casey Goss fouled out with 11. Now Mike Kickham with 12. Team high now for Mike with 13.
Glendale applying a little bit more of that full court press.
Killing some more seconds with it.
Now, the clock is a sixth man against Willard right now, and so are missed shots as Kickham pulls down another rebound. He's got 13 points and a half dozen rebounds. A great all-around game tonight for Mike Kickham.
They're going to make him foul. Glendale is in no hurry to take it to the basket.
Willard obviously not in that much of a hurry to foul here either, Don, but I don't know that there's a good person on the floor right now to foul for Glendale, and they'll go ahead and take the foul now. Put Dan Kickham on the line. They put Mike on the line. Now they'll send Dan there. They give the foul to Brent Woody. That's his fourth. Actually, no, I'm sorry, Ethan Henderson, his first.
And Dan Kickham shooting. Glendale has games coming up, a Friday home game against Carl Junction, and that's a game that got kind of nasty down in CJ last year. That'll be a travel. So Carl Junction coming here. I believe Spud Harbor got ejected from that game last year. And
yeah, I think I remember that story.
After he scored 30 points.
Yeah, it's like, didn't I do enough?
Glendale goes to Nixa. They visit St. Louis Lindbergh and go to the Pit before hosting Rogersville ahead of their Christmas tournament, the William Jewell tournament.
Willard got a big game coming up against Lebanon, who we talked about, where they might follow the blue and gold.
They're going to be a pretty high seed. Lebanon, that is. Sanders with the basket. Sanders coming away with it, and foul on Bracamani will be his fifth. So Glendale's going to pull this one out to improve to 4-1.
I tell you what, watching this game tonight and the way this has all worked out, I don't know that later in the season we'll see how these two teams progress and see if one's really 12 or 14 points better than the other. I don't know about that. They're both so young. Help to Glendale to be here in front of their home fans who get behind them and make some noise. Willard traveled their fans well.
Sanders at the line here, another one of his football running mates. Matt Swan is part of the team, but he is out with an ankle injury from football right now.
Yeah, it's a good injury when you're still nursing one from football in December. Not to mention the fact that they got to play a little while.
Willard foul with 28:5 to play, and Glendale's taking it out to 15, but this certainly was not a 15-point game. It was 5 at the end of 3 quarters. Woody gets his 4th, and Sanders shooting again.
Sanders off the bench with 6 points, make it 7. He's another one of those players, Don. We talked about it during football, and we talk about it now. Sanders 6'5", brings a lot of size to this team, and big rebound pulled down by Ross Jackson.
He's the tallest Falcon with several 6'4s behind him.
Yeah, both Kickums are 6'4".
Osborne, Swan, when he gets back in.
Who we didn't even see tonight.
It's going to be a deceptive final margin. It was a 1-point game at the quarter break and at halftime. 5 after 3 quarters, but Glendale wins it by a final score of 62-46, and they scored the last 7 points of the game to get it to there. The Falcons improved to 4-1. Willard is 2-2. We'll put the wraps on this one from Glendale right after this. Well, with good balance again tonight, Glendale defeats Willard 62-46 to improve to 4-1 heading into their home game against Carl Junction on Friday, and Willard will host Lebanon Friday. The Tigers are 2-2. 3 double-figure scores tonight for Glendale, and they expect nothing less night in and night out.
No, 3 double-figure scores, and 8 of the 9 guys that saw the floor scored. Only Triplet was held scoreless, so that's as well-balanced an offensive attack as you can hope for, and they showcased a little bit of that tonight.
Ronnie Rust led the way for Willard tonight with 20 points. Here are some of the second half highlights. It was a 1-point game at halftime.
Rust was impressive, but Glendale got hot from the outside early on. Ross Jackson drills that 3, and then you see more of Ronnie Rust. Rust had 20 points in this game tonight, and Don, he was impressive early on, but the Glendale Falcon offense really started to ratchet it up, especially in the 4th as you get another look at Rust there.
He finished with 3 threes and a total of 20. Air times on this game: Wednesday night at 7, Thursday night at 8, and Friday afternoon at 1 o'clock on Mediacom Connections Channel 14. Willard hosts Lebanon Friday, Glendale hosts Carl Junction, and we go to the pit to see the Central Bulldogs hosting the Ozark Tigers, and that'll be a live game at 7:30.
Basketball at the pit, it doesn't get any better than that, does it?
It doesn't. Glendale wins it here tonight 62-46 over Willard. For Corey Riggs, for Brad Woodall and our crew in the truck, I'm Don West. Thanks so much for joining us, and good night from Glendale.